Hi friends, Sharon from Mad Paper Crush here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to start a new series on working with digitals. So if you've purchased digitals in the past or you've gotten some freebies that you want to use in your journal, but you don't necessarily want to just leave them as is. You've printed them out and you're wondering, okay, now what can I do with them to kind of make them my own? Well, then this is the series for you. We're going to talk about different ways that you can embellish your printables or your digitals that you've gotten to use in your journals to make them more uniquely you. Now, this series, I'm going to be giving you ideas, and certainly you can combine any of these ideas, you can separate them out, and you can modify them in any way. But I was hoping that this would inspire you to work with your digitals so that you can use one kit over and over again for different things to make things look different. Or if you have leftover digitals from a kit that you've already used and are wondering maybe how you could repurpose them for a different journal, I'm hoping that this series will give you some ideas of different things you can do to do that. So I just have laid out here a bunch of different things that we'll be doing. So we'll be talking about embellishing your digitals with paper, with fabric, adding dimension and texture to your digitals, using mixed media in your digitals, and then lastly, we'll be talking about transforming your digitals completely. So I hope that you'll join me during this series and you will create with me and be able to use your digitals and feel more comfortable in different ways that you can add variety to your digitals. Now, in the description box below, I will be linking to a blog post that I'm doing, which will give you sort of some additional pictures and things so that you can really take a look at what I'm doing. I will also have any of the tools and different things that I'm using if you're interested in that information as well. So let's get started in working with digitals. First, let's talk a little bit about printing. Now I have a Canon MG7720 printer. It's an inkjet printer, and I printed all of my printables, all of my digitals on that printer. So obviously your printer may vary from mine. And I printed the same digitals on several different types of paper so that I could kind of show you the difference. And while you may not see much of a difference, I do think it's something that you should consider and maybe even try for your own printables. So as you're, working with different things, you may notice a difference with different types of paper that you use. So I just wanted to be able to consider that. Now, that being said, I did print these at the photo quality setting on each of the papers. So I printed the exact same thing with the exact same setting for each of these different pieces of paper. And you will get a different look if you choose a different setting on the printer. So like the photo quality uses more ink than just your, standard quality printing. So I just wanted to make sure I said that, because the first one here, the first example is just like your standard copy paper. So let me just move these out from underneath here. So we'll do these one at a time, and then I'll try to show you some of the differences. So this was the regular copy paper. It's 20 pounds and 75 GSM. And it's very light. If I was using this as a tag, I would definitely want to, back this with something to make it more sturdy. If I was using something as a tuck spot or whatever, I probably would still also want to back this with something. But you can certainly use this. You can see that it prints, it prints decent on this paper. So if you were using this for like collage or something like that, where you were going to layer it or, seal it with something that would give it a little more weight or sturdiness, you could use this type of paper. Then we're going to go on to just a standard cardstock. So this is just plain old, white cardstock. It's not any kind of special cardstock or anything. So same thing, I printed this out at the photo quality setting. And once again, it looks like it printed pretty well. Now this one's a little more sturdy, so you wouldn't need to back it with anything necessarily if you didn't want to, but you certainly could. So let's see if we can maybe see the printing differences between that. So I have the multi-purpose on top and the cardstock beneath. You can kind of see that the cardstock looks a little bit more saturated. The colors look a little bit more saturated than the multi-purpose. And that could be just, you know, that the paper is thicker and has more fibers to absorb more of the color, since I printed this at the photo printing setting. So that's those two. Now the next one is it's a 32-pound, 120 GSM. This one's called Laser Jet. I used to use a presentation paper, an HP, a Hewlett-Packard laser or presentation paper, but they don't sell it anymore. So now it's the same weight and GSM though. They're calling it Laser Jet paper. So I do not have a laser jet printer, but I do use this paper and I like the way that it prints out. So this one is a little bit heavier than your multi-purpose regular copy paper. It has a really great feel though. I love the feel of this paper, but it's still a little bit light. So once again, if you were cutting this out to use this as a tag or something on its own, you would probably want to back it with something to give it a little bit more stability. But color-wise, let's look at this against the multi-purpose. You can see they're pretty darn similar. I think that, and this may be hard to see, and I apologize for that. I do think that the laser printer is a little brighter in terms of the actual colors that print it out. Let me see if I can do it this way. And I think that it represents, you know, the digital a little bit better than the multi-purpose. But once again, this is, you know, I'm just showing you, anything you do is up to you. So, you know, no matter there. And then the last one I wanted to show you is this matte photo paper. So this is actually a photo paper, was designed to, you know, print photos on. 61 pounds, 230 GSM. This one's definitely more of a cardstock feel. So it's heavier in and of itself. And it really takes the colors of the printer a lot different actually than the other ones. So let me, I'll show this first against the cardstock. So I think you can really see the difference in the color there. And this one is definitely brighter than the regular cardstock. I think this one really pops, and I may start using this one more often actually for some of my printables, because I do love how bright these colors are. So let me show you against the Laser Jet, which is the one I do use a lot as well. And you can definitely, or at least I can definitely see that there is a difference in the brightness of the colors. So this paper, I think, takes the color, the ink from the printer better. So those are just 4 types that I wanted to just at least give you, you know, some information on, and whatever you're doing works, because you can see I have, you know, I have pictures printed out from all of these, and I could certainly use all of these, but I just wanted you to be aware that there is a difference, and you may want to consider that when you're printing your digitals. So you have your digitals printed. And the first thing I like to do is try to decide what I'm going to do with each of the digitals, so that I know how to prepare them for, you know, the rest of embellishing them. So what I mean by that is a lot of times there's, you know, just different cards and things like that that are in digitals. And in my journals, I like to use some of these as pockets. So sometimes journals come specifically with the pocket, you know, flaps on, so that you can fold things over and have a little bit of a gap with the pocket. But even just digitals like this that are a plain card, you could use as a pocket just by, you know, adhering it to your journal page, you know, on 3 sides. So I wanted to just pull out a couple of those so that I know, you know, okay, so this one I think I want to use as a pocket. So I'm just going to pull that aside. This one, you know, I like this one because it's kind of thin. It would make a nice place for just a journal card for something. So I'm just going to leave that one alone. And probably the rest of these horizontal ones I'll just leave as regular journal cards. But I have all of these to go through as well. So I have this one cabinet card that I could make a tuck spot if I wanted to. But I think I'm going to leave that as is. let's maybe make this a tuck spot. I think that would be cute on the side of a page where you could tuck something behind it. Let's see. I like this tall one too as being kind of a tuck spot. I think that would look good on the side of a page as well. So this is all I mean by that. Like, I'm just going to kind of go through and decide, you know, what I want to do with each of them. And so once I do that, then I know how I can prepare them. So because these were printed on the LaserJet paper or the presentation paper, they're still pretty thin. So as tuck spots and pockets, I probably still want to, you know, stabilize them a little bit with something. So, you know, I'll know that I need to do that. And then my tags, I want to use as tags. So I'm going to leave these the way that they are, but we're going to, you know, stabilize them. And the same with all of these. So now that I have these all ready, I will probably use most of these as journaling cards. So because I don't want, you know, this is kind of a vintagey feel kit, I don't want the backs to be white, and I want them to be sturdier. Now I could have printed them on something else, and then, you know, you could use distress ink on the back of them if you wanted to, you know, just to knock the white off so that they match more of the vintage feel. But I like to prepare most of my journal ephemera with some more stability. So I usually start with book pages. So let me just, I'll just put these aside for now, and we'll just do a couple to kind of give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So these are, you know, I plan on these probably being tuck spots and or pockets here. So we'll just kind of do these. Now, a lot of times I like to use more than just paper. So I like to use fabric. I like to stitch. I like to, you know, put metal brads and, you know, different things on my embellishments. So we're going to be going through all of that in this series. So right now I'm just going to prep. And when I prep, pockets and tuck spots especially, I like to sew. I think that having that additional texture in my journal, you know, I just love the feel of that. So when I prep something that I know I'm probably going to sew around, I prep it a little bit different. So what I do is I usually use 1 or 2 book pages. So this is like a book I got at the dollar store. So it's nothing special. And I just pulled it out so that I can use it. So I almost always want 2 layers of book page. So for something like this, and because I'm probably going to use this as a tuck spot, I may even want to put 3 layers on this, just to be sure that I have a nice sturdy tuck spot. So actually, I think that's what I'm going to do. And actually, I may even do just 2 and 2, I think would be perfect for this one, because that'll give it a nice sturdy backing for when, you know, you're putting your journal cards in and out of this tuck spot. So what I do, because I know I'm going to be sewing around it, is I will just take my book pages that I've kind of folded in half and very quickly, without any sort of precision, glue these 2 pages in half and then glue them together so that I have 4 layers of book page for this tuck spot. So then what I'm going to do, once again, I plan to sew around this in some way. I'm just going to kind of glue the middle so that it stays down. And sometimes what I like to do is try and line it up at the top or the bottom of the book pages so that I don't have to cut it out on all edges, or so that you get, you know, sort of that rough edge on one side. But this one I just put right in the middle. So I'm going to just put that aside to let it dry. And I do that sort of with all of my things. So let's go ahead and just do a tag real quick. Let's see, if I'm not going to sew around something, I try to be a little bit more precise in terms of how much glue I put down so that I don't have to do a lot of fixing later. So for this one, first I'm going to glue the 2 pages together, and I'm really going to make sure I get the middle of this page filled with glue so that when I put this one on, it'll be, you know, adhered from sort of end to end when I glue this tag on top. Now, when I glue the tag on, if I'm not going to sew, which we'll say for this one, I'm not going to sew around it, I will put glue on the back of the tag from, you know, end to end, from side to side, to try to get the entire thing covered. And now sometimes you have to go back in and, you know, if sometimes this glue doesn't stick all the way or something like that, and fix any place that's sort of come up. But I try to make sure if I'm not going to sew that I do it from end to end and really, you know, get it glued on there. And I was trying to line that up at the top, but I didn't do such a hot job there. So then after I do all of my prepping for all of my ephemera, then we'll start adding some different things to really make them look different and pop. Okay, now here comes the fun part. So now you can take your digitals after you have them printed and add things to them or change them to make them look different. If you want to do 4 different journals, you could probably have digitals that end up looking, you know, 4 different ways or more. And so I'm just going to basically give you some ideas. Any of these can be combined or modified in any way that works good for you. I really just hope this gives you some more varieties and options to choose to really make your digitals stand out and feel fun to you over and over again. So the first one I wanted to share is adding tabs. So some digital kits come with tabs that you would just have to cut out and add. This one I punched using a punch board. So I have this, this We Are Memory Keepers tab punch board, and I just had a scrap of scrapbooking paper that had some purples in it that I thought went with this flower nicely. So I just cut out a little tab from that, and you can just add them on to the sides of your note cards, journal cards. You can add things onto the top. You could add them onto tags if you wanted to give your tag a little bit of a topper there. So you go from a digital with nothing on it, and then you add this and it gives some dimension. So I'm going to finish this one up and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. And here it is. Now I do want to mention that I did sew this one. You certainly don't need to sew it. And I also added a backing. So remember when we had prepped all of our journal cards and everything ready to go with some book page, I also, before I sewed it, added on some lined coffee paper there so that this would make a nice journaling card. And now it's nice and sturdy and can be used, taken in and out of a journal and used as a journaling card. But you can see how simple this was and how it gave a little bit more dimension and texture to this one digital. And certainly you don't have to stop here. There's so many other things that you can do with this as well. Like I said, I kind of wanted to show you one thing at a time so that you could go and after you've finished watching this series, you could really get an idea of how to combine things and change things up and make every piece look a little bit different. So let's move on to the next one. Another idea, if you don't have a tab punch, is to just use another punch or cut out a shape to make your own little tab. So this was just a 1-inch circle punch that I used, and I cut out a piece of cardstock that I liked, and I actually glued on a couple different pieces of cardstock just to make it sturdier. This one I think I'm going to use as a tuck spot on a page. So I like having little tabs and things when I put things on the page like that for a tuck spot. So all I did was glued those pieces together, punched a hole where I wanted it through the circle and then through the card itself, and I put on a little brad to keep it together. Now, if I was going to make this into a, journaling card or a note card, I would, cover my brad with my coffee dyed paper so that you wouldn't see that. But you could certainly do that at the end too if you like those little brad ends sticking out on whatever you're doing. And I will probably add some stitching to this to really make it pop out. And I'll just do that right along the outside edges, and I won't go over this. So I'll show you what that looks like. And there you have it. So I just turned and stitched around put a couple of back stitches in, and I think that really gave that some nice texture. Okay, the next thing with paper that you can do with your digitals is get out your collage bits, pieces of, scraps of paper, book pages, stamps that you have lying around, different things like that. So all I was going to do here is I took one of the digitals that just looked like, this, and it's very nice in and of itself, but this one had a little bit of space around it, so I thought it might be a perfect one to add some collage bits to. So I just took a couple of pieces and put them together in a way that I thought looked nice and pleasing, and I could attach them. So I could attach them in a bunch of different ways. I could just use glue. I could use maybe my tiny attacher just to put a staple right in the middle of there to hold everything together, but to kind of still give it some, freedom there to move around if you wanted to. Or I could stitch it on as well. So let me show you what this one looks like when we're done. So this one, depending on what I want to do, I may add, just some coffee dyed paper to the back there to make it a journaling card. Or I could use this as a pocket and just put it down on a page, going 3 sides. But you can see how already this is changing, and I could add more over here if I wanted to really change this up and make it look different. Some digital kits come with additional, pieces of ephemera or embellishments that are perfect to use for collage bits because they match the kit itself. So you could take some of these, like this kit comes with stamps, and you could use these on your digital ephemera as well. You could print out additional ones to kind of use them all over in collage on top of the digitals to really change them up. So, there's lots of different things you can do, even just with the pieces that are included in the kit to put them on. And if you were, making journaling cards, you can use these on the back too to really bring your theme around to all parts, of your journaling cards and things like that as you put them in. But certainly if you don't have these, or if you don't want to use them, you can just use, what you have in your stash. You can distress ink them to make them all kind of match and get them on your digitals to make them look different. Also, don't forget words. Words sometimes are really fun to add to digitals, especially when you just have sort of decoration on them. Adding the words really adds nice contrast to them sometimes. So like if you're like me, you probably have a couple of dictionaries sitting around waiting for you to use. So look up some words and cut them out and use those on your digitals. I think those always look good. Sometimes digitals come with words with them, so you can certainly use those too. Or just open up a book and see if you have, some words that stick out, or even a couple of words together, cut out, distressed, and glued down, I think look awesome too. Okay, another idea of things to add to your digitals is washi tape. I think washi tape is a great way to add variety into your digitals to make them look, really different. And you can put them on. You can see this one's a little bit translucent, so it would probably look really cool if it was over top some of this wasp. But you can also get coordinating colors to go along with it to put on as well. So this is another fun way to change up your digitals and make them look a little bit different. So here's a sample of what adding washi tape might look like. I love using washi tape that is a little bit translucent so that if you go over top of something, you can see it. I've really kind of burnished this down to make it, nice, as see-through as possible. The other thing that you might want to know about washi is that sometimes it doesn't stick very good. So adding a little bit of glue stick before you put it down. So like what I'll do is I'll just run it over top of my glue stick before I put it down to really make sure it is adhered and will stay on, real good for you. Okay, so here was just a couple of ideas to get us started on working with our digitals. So we talked about adding tabs and punch outs to our digitals. We talked about adding collage bits and washi tape and all kinds of different papers to your digitals to change them up and make them more your own. Now, when you come back next Friday, we'll be talking about adding things like fabric and dimension to your digital. So I hope you'll join me next week for part 2 of this series on working with your digitals. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.